Yeah, like 138. I think I should do that one.
This is The Other 51. I'm Brian, and this week, my guest is Joe Posnanski from The Athletic. All right, my guest this week is, this is episode number 138 of The Other 51. And for a milestone like that in the podcasting world, there's only one person to bring back. It's the person we had for episode 4, episode 100. It's Joe Posnanski. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us to celebrate today.
Well, I really appreciate it, and feel like there really isn't anybody else who could do episode 138. I mean, this is clearly a landmark for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'm just honored and to be a part of the classic 138 episode.
It really is. It's something about that number, too, because I had Jeff Perlman on about a month or so ago, and he made a random reference to number 138. I don't know what it is about this number, but there is something, of all the random numbers, this has got to be up there.
Oh, yeah. No. I think that anybody would agree that it's just sort of the classic number, right? It's just sort of like everybody always talks about, classic, magic number 7 and, the round number of 100 and 138. I mean, I think it's probably third in the most famous number category.
I think so. I think if you guys ever have a numbers draft, you've probably had this on the podcast.
We have. I think 138 went number 1. You would think so.
I mean, that wins the draft right away. So
sure.
So first of all, congratulations. Last time I had you on the podcast last year, your book on Harry Houdini was just coming out, and it's been out for a little more than a year now. And I read it. It was excellent. So congratulations. It was such a fun book to read.
It was really a fun book to write. It's just something so completely different for me to go into a world that I knew absolutely nothing about but found fascinating, and to just be able to enter that world and have so many people be helpful and kind and I made some friends that I suspect will be friends for me for the rest of my life. So it really was fun. And Houdini himself is such a great character and such a fascinating individual that I loved it. It was my 5th book, and they each have a very special place in my heart. But I don't know that I ever had more fun, just pure, unadulterated fun than I did writing that book.
I'm curious too, because it's been out a little more than a year now, and I know you worked on it for a long time and reported it for a long time. What's it like to be done with the book and like a year out to kind of look back and not have this book that you're writing or editing or promoting, and like the initial burst is out, like the sales are out, like that initial kind of any interviews that you do about it. So what's it like to be done with a book for a year?
You're always looking ahead, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're always thinking about what the next thing is. And it's not like, I've been plenty busy doing lots of other stuff. It's strange for it not to be new. Because especially with this one, I had this running joke for about a year or more before the book came out about how, I might not have mentioned that I've written this book about Houdini. And I used to say that every podcast, and I would write that all the time in Twitter and all that. So it's weird for me that it's like, the paperback came out about 3 weeks ago, and the paperback is sort of that declaration you no longer have a new book.
Right.
That means your book has been out a year, and now you can get it in like its cheaper form, and it's still wonderful, but it's not new anymore, and it feels strange to me. It's a little bit like, I think we've actually talked about this on the podcast, my theory that you really never know how old you are until you see how old your friends' kids are. Like, right. That's the time. It's like when you see your friend that you thought you saw 6 months ago, and suddenly their daughter is 22, you're like, oh, wow, that I guess we haven't seen each other in a long time, and I'm really getting old. And I think it's a little bit like that. It's like I still have such a powerful feeling about writing the book, about finding, the amazing people in this book and interviewing them and talking to them. And I just have this, it feels to me like it was, yesterday And now the book is out and it's not new, and it's, you know, no longer in the new section of bookstores and all of that. So there is a little bit of a weird feeling about it being you know, now in the sort of the cavalcade of all the books that I've written. Like, none of those books are new anymore. And I am constantly reminded by my publisher and my editor and my agent, hey man, you don't have a new book out. You know, time to get that next new book out. So yeah, so it's definitely an odd feeling.
Are you working on anything right now? Anything specific for a new book?
Well, I am working on some stuff, but my next book is done because we're making the baseball 100, the countdown of the 100 players. This is sort of an announcement. I give you this exclusive. Well, for 138, you got to give exclusive announcements. So the baseball 100 that I wrote for The Athletic, that is the countdown of the 100 greatest players in baseball history, is going to be a book, and it's going to be a book that's going to come out next fall. Perfect time for the World Series, hopefully, and Christmas shopping and all that other stuff. And I'm really excited. Some of my favorite. I really think it's some of the best work I've ever done. It just was weird because it was done, in front of people's, right in front of people, because I wrote it literally every single day. It was for 100 days. So it was odd, but I feel like it's going to really look good as a book. I think it's going to feel good as a book. I've reread a lot of it as we go forward, and it feels like a book, and it feels like a cohesive sort of history of baseball through the stories of these 100 players. I hope so. That's what I'm hoping for. And so I'm very excited. So that will be my next book coming out next fall, the Baseball 100.
Congratulations. That's awesome. And I remember, am I remembering this correctly? You actually started that on your own blog, right? Before it was at The Athletic, like years ago you started this.
I did. I actually started it twice. I got to like number 30 the first time I tried it, and then I put it away for a while, and then I started it again, and then The Athletic hired me and asked if I would do the Baseball 100 for them. And, I was like, I'm going to start this thing a third time, but kind of came up with an idea at that point where I was going to literally do one every single day throughout the off season. And of course it was supposed to lead up to opening day, which was kind of, messed up because of the pandemic. So everything sort of changed and shifted. And in the last, I'd say 20 of them actually didn't appear every day, but appeared sort of every couple of days, every few days. So we stretched it out. But that was the idea, so I used a lot of the old stuff, but it was really, I was surprised how little of the old stuff I could actually use because of the way I did this one, because it was every day, because, one starts piling on top of the other. You know how it is as a writer, you write, like, okay, I have an idea. These will be, X, number of words, and they're going to be this and this and this. But then you write one that you really, really like, and it's 2,500 or 3,000 words, and suddenly you got to do another one the next day, and it's like, well, how can this next one not be, just as good, and also 2,500 or 3,000 words? And so it kind of just kept growing and growing and growing until it ended up being basically a 300,000 word project. So it was something. It was really special to me, though. I mean, the response to it was incredible, and I would get, emails or texts or Twitter messages every single day, people asking me to turn it into a book while it was going on. So that was really special. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see what it's going to look like in book form.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned the pandemic, and obviously 2020 has been a year of things happening. But I think we can both agree that the kind of most significant and surprising thing of 2020 is the Browns and the Bills are good.
Yeah.
Like legitimate, yeah. Like the Bills look legitimately good. The Browns look decent good,
sort
at
of
least.
good.
Sort
Yeah,
of good, decent good. What the heck? What has happened?
It'll end as soon as 2020. The 2020 goes, we come back to like sort of a normal reality with a normal president and a normal life, and we get a vaccine, and we sort of return, and then the Browns and Bills will become what they are supposed to be. The Browns have not fully embraced the let's make 2020 our year that we're going to be good. Like they're good enough to beat bad teams, which is like a huge improvement from where they used to be. But like the Bills feel to me like they're really actually good, and they're good in a way that I think is great for Buffalo and great for sort of the Bills reaction, which is that like Josh Allen is good.
Mm-hmm.
Like after all of that stretch of time where people were blasting him and he can't, he has no accuracy and he's this and he's this and he's this, and like now he's really good. I mean, he's the guy you want back there. Even with whatever issues he might have, and like the whole team feeds off of him, and so that feels like sort of an explosion of good feelings and good cheer, and watching the Patriots be horrendous at the same time is you're right. It's about the only good thing that's happened in 2020.
That is the as a Bills fan, that's the other joy of this, because as a Browns fan, the Bills fans always kind of waiting for the 4-game losing streak or the shoe to drop out or something like that. But even if that, watching the Patriots just be awful is a glorious thing. It's one of the best things of the year. And it does seem like Josh Allen, it's weird because he kind of has the thing that I think everyone expected Baker Mayfield to have in Cleveland. I know you've talked and written about Baker a lot, but he kind of had like Josh Allen seems in a way to be the guy that everyone thought Baker was.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, look, he's certainly more sort of physically talented than Baker is. He's about as physically talented as anybody. But I can definitely see like he has this sort of he'll get it done somehow mentality that I think people did expect from Baker. And Baker Mayfield now feels a little more limited than that. Like there are things he can do and things he can't do. But with Josh Allen, it's like, okay, I need to like, run over a linebacker to win this game. I'll run over a linebacker. I need to throw the ball 80 yards in the air and for a time, then I'll do that. Like he's like, there's no limit to what his talents are. And now it feels like, look, even though he still, makes mistakes and he'll still have stretches where he doesn't look that great. At the end of the day, like he feels like he will do what needs to be done to win. And that was definitely what I think everybody was hoping in Cleveland, was hoping for Baker Mayfield. And we'll see. I mean, that it doesn't feel that way right now, but he still has some of those qualities. But I don't think there would be anybody in Buffalo who would trade Josh Allen for Baker Mayfield. And I don't think there's anybody in Cleveland who wouldn't trade Baker Mayfield for Josh Allen.
Right. And talking about the Browns, too, to kind of bring this back to writing, you write the Browns diary for The Athletic. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. And this ties into, I think, the Baseball 100 as well, because that writing that you do for the Browns and kind of infusing the Baseball 100 stuff that I read, it definitely feels like it comes from more of a fan's perspective and maybe not the, when I say that, not the detached professional sports journalist in air quotes that I make on a podcast that nobody can see. But so I'm wondering kind of, first of all, because that's, writing from that fan's perspective, that's something that in, my sports journalism class, I'm supposed to teach students not to do. And I don't. But so kind of like, just starting off, how did that come about? As I want to say your style, that sounds too highfalutin, but how did you kind of get that as a mindset and writing from that perspective and not from more of a traditional journalism perspective?
Well, it's interesting. I don't feel like that is a style for me, in the sense of I don't think most of my writing has it. I think it's something, I've always broken up writing into numerous categories. There's magazine writing, there's book writing, there's column writing, there's blog writing, and they're all a little bit different, and some of them are very different. When you look at not only the style but also sort of the mindset I need to be in when I'm writing it, and I want, when I'm writing a blog post, for instance, I want to be loose. I want to feel like I can say anything and I can go on tangents and I can, I don't need to be focused. And I think too much focus can hurt it, because I think I'm going for a different feel for that kind of thing than I would be for a serious biography, a serious profile of Mike Trout or something like that. So I feel like it's all different. With the Browns Diary, it was very clear to me how that started. I mean, it was a very vivid feeling. It was, 5 years ago, maybe, or so, I realized that I just no longer felt any fan connection to
Okay.
sports. I mean, when you're a sports writer for this many years, people would always say like, oh, well, what team do you like? And I'd be like, I don't really like any team. Like, I like people. I like stories. I certainly, when I was in Kansas City, I wanted the Kansas City teams to do well, because it made for better writing, and it made people around you a lot happier. And, you want the town to be in a good place and all that sort of thing. But I never felt those feelings. And I was just a huge sports fan when I was a kid, just a manic, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat when they lost kind of sports fan, particularly for the Cleveland Browns. So I wanted to sort of it was an experiment to see if I could recapture some of that,
Okay.
as a Browns fan. And I had really lost touch with the Browns. I mean, completely. I was all those years in Kansas City writing about the Chiefs. So the Browns were, and of course the Browns were gone for part of that time. And I just wasn't, I never really got into the new Browns in the way that I had with the old Browns. And I thought, well, let me just write a diary, just write a weekly diary, purely from a fan perspective. And it was for nobody. It was for my blog. It wasn't something that anybody, that I wanted to write for anybody particularly. I was just, hey, let me just write it literally from, what am I feeling? I'm not analyzing this. I'm analyzing it, but I'm analyzing it only as a fan. I'm not going into any other, I'm not trying to be fair. I'm just being a fan. I'm just being exactly a fan. And I really liked it. It was a completely different kind of writing for me. And I think people enjoyed it. Even people who are not Browns fans enjoyed it, because they could sort of see a little bit of themselves, hopefully, in it. And they were like, oh, this is good. I'm not pretending to be anything else. I'm not pretending to be unbiased. I'm writing this purely as a Browns fan. And I did it for a year, and then I did it for a second year. And then The Athletic, actually, before I even started working there, came to me and said, we would love to run this in our, for Cleveland. And I explained everything to them just the way I did to you. And they're like, no, that's what we want. So that's where that came from. And I try to stay true to that even now. Now it's sort of a little bit of an established thing. And it's funny. They'll my editor over at The Athletic, for the Brown stuff, will on Sundays go, hey, have you thought about an angle of what you're going to write? Which is what you say to a columnist or a feature writer, like, oh, okay, we've got, Baker Mayfield covered. Do you want to write about Myles Garrett? It's like you have those conversations. And I'm like, I just thought I would write about, the progressive commercials that Baker Mayfield's in, right? I mean, I'm literally, whatever comes to my mind as a fan while I'm watching the game is what I want to get on the screen. So it is definitely a different kind of writing, but I love it. And I feel like I'm playing a little bit of a character.
Okay.
I mean, everything I'm writing, I do feel as a fan, but I feel like I need to amplify that because I really am writing it as a fan, wants the Browns to win, infuriated when the Browns don't win, feels, sick to my stomach when the Browns keep making terrible decisions. And so I try to amplify that as much as I can. And it's been fun writing, and I think it's been good for me. I do think I've connected a little bit more with the football fan that I was when I was a kid.
And so you mentioned at the beginning of that, the kind of different mindsets that you have for different types of writing, whether it's a column, a blog, a book, or whatever on that. Well, you said you want to be loose, like when you're writing a blog, and probably something like, the Browns Diary or something like that. And I'm wondering what kind of advice you would have, because I feel like that's great advice for young writers to kind of loosen up. Like I see, especially in journalism, I think because of the format of it and because of like the structure of news stories, and that it seems to be like very rigid and kind of, very almost by the numbers, by a template. And so is there a way, what advice you have for writers to kind of loosen up a little bit?
Well, I think it's a challenge, honestly, and particularly as a young writer, it's a challenge because you can go pretty far astray if you're too loose. You can start going a little bit off the deep end, and it's hard to bring it back. And I think you need to feel like you've got the basics really, really, really down.
Mhm.
I don't think like, I don't know what it's like to walk on a tightrope, but I would imagine that you want to go out there at first with the long pole that helps you balance. I don't think you want to go out there right away and try to do backflips. So I think it's very much, you know, you start by really, really getting the basics down, the who, the what, the when, the why, all that stuff, the lead and trying to a kicker and keeping this thing in some sort of order and making sure that you're using quotes wisely, which I think we have talked about on this podcast
Mhm.
that I feel like is probably I would say the biggest mistake I see is people relying too much on bad quotes, especially early for young people. But once you get past all of that, I think it is important to remember that there are no like rules at the end of the day, right? I mean, there are obviously some rules, but you're not limited by the basic structure. You're not limited. You can try things and go. When I write a blog post, I tend most of the time to write it in one sort of sweeping, thought process. I just go. I start at the beginning and I get to the end, and it's usually very fast, and I just type off the top of my head, and then I go back and rework it, but I don't often rework it that much. It's just I just go. I think a lot about, especially this week being Masters Week. I think a lot about this piece I wrote last year when Tiger Woods won the Masters, and I didn't have an assignment to do it. I just wanted to write about it. So I went to my blog and I wrote, and I had this idea, and it was a goofy idea that I was going to write it from the perspective of hole number 12. And I just tried to kind of clear my mind and think about how I would write this. And it just, I wrote it probably in half an hour. I mean, I just wrote it really fast. And then I went back and like, okay, now let's fix all the goofiness out of it. But I mean, there just kind of wasn't that much goofiness in it. I mean, it just kind of felt like it felt like the piece was done. It just felt like, I mean, I don't even remember. I'm sure I made a few small changes here and there, but generally speaking, it was done. And I posted it, and I had no idea. I mean, I thought people might have just said, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. I didn't care. I didn't care if they did that, because to me it was like, hey, this is a fun idea and a fun experiment, and let's give it a try. And it turned out to, people really, really liked it, and it made a pretty significant impact, and it was great. But to me, the real sort of victory in that was that I just wanted to try something completely off the deep end, and make it work if I could, and I wasn't afraid of failure, and I wasn't afraid of it flopping, because I don't think you can be. So I think it's a combination of those two things, because I worry that what I said is a little bit conflicting. I think one, you do have to get the basics down. I mean, I think that's critical. I think you have to write as many straight news stories, as many straight opinion pieces, as many straight features as you can, and really sort of read a lot of that kind of stuff, so you kind of know what that's supposed to look like. And then the second part of this is, I think in order to find your own voice and your own rhythms, I think you do have to sort of reach in and try things that absolutely might fail and
Mhm.
absolutely might bomb. And you give it a try. And you'll be scared to death that people are going to hate it, and sometimes they will. I mean, that's just part of the way it goes. But that to me is the best way to find the thing you're talking about, which is, being able to sort of break away from the everyday and try something a little bit different.
Yeah, one of my English professors in college, he was a jazz musician. And he used to quote, I think it was Charlie Parker. I'm probably getting this wrong, but he said it was something along the lines of, first you master the notes, then you master the music, then you forget all that stuff and just play. And
Right.
Very similar to writing.
That's right. It's exactly right. I'm almost certain I told this story on this podcast before, so I apologize if I did. When I was in college and I was trying to figure out what the heck I wanted to do with my life, and had no earthly idea that I would ever become a writer. I was in a writing class, and I remember we had read two different books, and I remember that the assignment was for us to pretend to be a fly on the wall, and we're overhearing a conversation between the two protagonists in the two different books.
Okay.
So they were having a conversation, and I was supposed to be a fly on the wall. And I was not that familiar with the phrase "fly on the wall." Like, I didn't like I'm sure I could have figured out what it was, but I don't know that I'd heard it before. So I literally wrote it as if I was a fly on the wall. I literally wrote it that way. So I can remember, I don't remember much of what I wrote, but I do remember that at one point, like, I was listening to the conversation, and then I noticed there was a hot dog, like on the other side of the room and flying over there. So I lost whatever they were talking about. And that's the kind of goofy sort of place that my mind went, and I wrote it. And it was and it probably was the first time that I'd ever allowed myself to take a chance like that, because obviously the professor could have that could have absolutely gotten an F. I mean, that's just like what kind of goofball are you, that you thought that you could do that. It turned out he loved it, but that's just I just got lucky as far as that goes. It was just the first time I'd really followed my instincts. So I do think, yeah, you better master the notes and master the, understand. But yeah, in order to really, I think in order to even get the most out of this business and the most out of writing is following those instincts that are inside you that might lead you down the wrong path, but you got to at least try.
So I have something new, because it is episode 138. We need to celebrate.
Sure.
And in kind of podcast fashion, I'd like to do a 1 minute lightning round of meaninglessness, if you're up for it.
Excellent. Of course.
All right, here we go. I got 3 meaninglessnesses for you. First, okay. Best kind of Christmas ornament.
Best kind of Christmas ornament. I would say I'm partial to like sort of the realistic looking like people, or like, things that like the round Christmas ornaments are fine, and like snowflake things are fine, but like I like when people, like, you put something on there like, oh, what's that? And they're like, oh, that's my Uncle Bob, just like actual realistic things that people hang from the tree. So I'm gonna go with I don't know if that's an actual thing, but I like the realistic looking things up there.
No, I like we have on our tree, like the we have a Gronk on the tree, because
yes,
Gronk is a relative of mine. He's like a distant second cousin of that. So
sure.
we have Gronk on the tree. All right. Best favorite thing at an office supply store.
We just drafted office supplies on the podcast, so this is very fitting. We actually did a office supply draft with Jeff Garland.
Nice.
And Jeff drafted paper, pen, and he basically was trying to corner the market on all office supplies. And then we told him that you couldn't have like all of those, like you could have paper, but that didn't mean you get all paper,
right.
That we could still draft. He left. He literally quit in the middle of the draft and just left. So my favorite thing when I go into an office supply store, I always want to look and see what like the new gadgets are, if there are any new gadgets. But I mean, I think that this is sort of boring, but the thing that I spend my most time in office supply stores are looking at pens and trying to find the perfect pen. I've been after the perfect pen pretty much my whole life. And I've never gotten there. I've come close to, I want a pen that just, it almost feels like it's writing itself. I
Right.
want it to be that smooth and all that. So, so I would say I spend most of my time around pens.
I like that. I like the facts and like the that area of it, because I love that there's still a thing in like office
Yes.
supply stores.
Yeah, and you know what I love is when they add that as your third feature.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's a scanner, a printer, and a fax. Like if it wasn't a fax, I'm not getting it.
Right.
The fax should be number one on that list.
And favorites, since it's Thanksgiving season and you are on the right side of this, best kind of pie.
Ooh, we were actually having this conversation. We just ordered this gigantic, like there's a place that we saw like on one of the Food Channel things or something that has like this huge, like enormous apple pie that's like in the shape of a like a chimney or something. I mean, it's just so we just ordered it and it looks absolutely delicious. I would still say I'm probably like I'll take almost any fruit pie,
Right.
but I would say cherry pie for me is probably, I guess, apple pie or cherry pie are both delicious. So I'll say cherry, but with apple, I'm ready for an apple pie. And of course, I'll have any other basically fruit pie. I mean, Mike Schur, who's my podcast partner and has been ripping pies forever, is just he's insane.
He doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean,
no, he's an insane person.
He's a genius, but he's also so wrong on this one. I can suggest. I don't know if you've ever had a grape pie. It's a Finger Lakes thing up here in New York. Around here, they make grape pies. It's basically a blueberry pie or a cherry pie, but made with red grapes, and it's delicious.
Well, you know what? I've never had a grape pie, but I love grapes, and I'm up for. I'm up for just being up in the Finger Lakes area in general.
Absolutely.
Not now.
Oh, actually, it's like 80, it's like 75 up here this past week. So.
Yeah, but tomorrow it might be 4 feet of snow.
That's
I mean,
true.
it's like it's just you never know. But yeah, no, I would try it. I'd try a grape pie.
Excellent. So as we always end, that was some wonderful meaninglessness, by the way. I'm honored to have that. So as I always end the podcast, and we've talked on this before, what's the best thing you've read lately?
Oh, best thing I've read lately. I just got a couple of books from my publishing house is printed a couple books. One is, I'm not going to remember the names of them. One is about it's sort of a history of philosophers, and it's sort of using different philosophers to sort of how to deal with today's world. So it's really good. It's really, really good. I'm being of no use because I can't remember the name of it. I'll tell you what, I've read some books, I've read some stuff, but I got to be honest, the last month, 2 months, it's been hard. It's been hard to sort of, for a lot of reasons. It's been hard to concentrate. It's been hard to find time. And I just, I don't know. I guess I'm as much as anybody else, looking to avoid doom scrolling while doom scrolling.
Right.
It's just like I'm just constantly feel like I've wasted a lot more of my time on social media lately than is good or than I had before. So, I know I'm sure people have very different feelings about the election or whatever, but the one thing that I can honestly say about the election that I'm unafraid to say is I just want someone in office who I don't have to pay attention to, so I can get back to reading. That's all I want. That's all I want. That's it.
It's going to be nice to not think of the president every day and like to have a day where it's like, oh yeah, it doesn't even come to mind. So it's nothing I've read, but I think you will like it because I know you're a chess guy. The Queen's Gambit.
Yes.
I don't know if you've watched it yet, but it is.
I've not. I've not.
It is very good, and from everything I have seen, from chess experts, they've talked to chess experts, and they get it really right. Like the chess is well done, and chess is a game that I want to be good at, but I'm terrible at. So it's just it's really well done. The performances are great, and it's a good because it's set mainly in the 50s and 60s, so it's a good kind of escapism from everything going on. So I can recommend that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and I've actually several Mike, among others, have recommended it, and And I don't know if we've talked about this at all. I have a big chess background. My father was a chess master he won the Cleveland Open one year. So he taught me how to play chess. So I am fascinated by chess. I actually watch quite a lot of chess videos on YouTube, which is like I watch people break down classic, Kasparov and Magnus games, and and even though I can't follow what they're doing, I find this somehow really relaxing and fascinating. So I'm very excited about seeing it. But I was going to start watching it, and my wife insists that we watch that one together. So she's got to get through like 2 other series before we're allowed to start it, I think.
All right. Well, Joe, this has been wonderful. Thank you for celebrating this milestone for me, and best of luck with the new book. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to The Other 51. Show notes for this and all of our episodes can be found at sportsmediaguide.com by clicking on the Other 51 tab. If you like the show, please consider giving it a rating and a review, either at Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. It really does help people find the show. Our theme music is by Ellie Moritz.